Behind the Brand features the people who are making things happen. Get the insight to grow your biz from experts who've done it. Get behind the brand.
Hi, I'm Bryan Elliot. Welcome to another edition of Behind the Brand. Today I'm here with marketing strategist and author David Meerman Scott. David, welcome to the show.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks, Bryan.
Share with me a little bit more for the college students who are watching. We were talking a little bit off camera to one of our interns who's at UCLA, and just kind of share a little bit of that wisdom about why you should do it and what are the benefits.
So I'm on the advisory board of about half a dozen companies, and they frequently ask me to review resumes of people who they're thinking about hiring for marketing roles.
Yeah.
And I always say, I don't want to hear about the resume. Send me something they're doing interesting on social media.
Yeah, what have you done?
Right. Send me their YouTube channel. Send me their blog. Send me what they're up to on Twitter, whatever it might be. Do they have an Instagram page? What are they doing on Instagram? An Instagram feed? What are they doing on Instagram? So the idea of creating a persona for yourself on the web is the best way to get hired for that first job out of college. So what I say to students, and it doesn't matter whether you're a freshman or a sophomore or junior, senior, first, second, third, fourth year of university, now is the time to start creating some content on the web in the form of a blog or a YouTube channel or both. Because imagine that I'm a hiring manager and I want to hire a marketing person in September of this year, right? Now, what am I going to do? I'm going to put out a call. I'm going to go on my social network and say, hey, I've got this job opening. I'm going to get 100 resumes or 1,000 resumes.
Yeah.
But what about that one person, that one bright student who sends me a link to their well-written blog, and I can see over the course of 2 years the way they think, the way they write, the way they interact.
Yeah.
Guess who I'm going to pay more attention to? Am I going to read the 100 resumes? No. Maybe I'll look at a few. Am I going to check out that blog and that person's Twitter feed? Of course.
Yeah.
And then when I think, who is the person who's going to generate better attention for my business as a marketer? Is it the one who can write the best resume? Well, that's the same as everyone else. Or is it the one who can generate that great blog or YouTube channel that's interesting to people about what they're doing for themselves? That's the person I want working for me in my business.
And I would think if it's a smaller company too, they may not even be looking at paper. They're going to Google first.
Probably.
And they're just researching, is this person even on the radar?
Right, right.
And I'll bet the principles you just talked about are applicable to people who are graduated and older.
It applies to everyone. It applies to people who are looking for that second or third job, as they're climbing the career ladder. It works for those people, I'm in my early 50s. It works for those people in their 50s, 60s even, who are towards the end of their career, and unfortunately in our market today there's some ageism at work. And if you're a great employee, salesperson, marketing person, public relations person, whatever, and you're a little bit older, have a few gray hairs, people look at you a little bit differently. And if you've got this amazing presence on the web, it doesn't matter your age.
Yeah.
I've got a friend whose mother, who's in her 80s, has this fantastic blog. And every blog post she talks about a different product, she can't open it. It's the I can't open it blog. And she's in her 80s, and it's fantastic.
So let's talk a little bit about content as a strategy.
Yeah.
I remember you telling this great story of this dentist.
Yeah.
So a lot of people will say, well, my company's B2B, or that doesn't work for me because I'm in this industry.
Yeah.
Or I've got a boring business. I have nothing exciting to write about.
Yeah.
Remember that story you told when we met a few years ago?
Right, her name is Dr. Helene Smith.
Tell that story.
Yeah, people always say to me, I'm in the XYZ business. And you can just fill in the blank for what XYZ is. I'm a B2B company, I'm a nonprofit, I'm in a government agency, my business is boring.
That works for you, but it would never work for me.
That might work for you, but it doesn't work for me. Those are excuses. Those are fear-based excuses, because it can work for everybody. Dr. Smith is a dentist in the Boston area, and she was trying to generate attention for her business by doing what everyone else does, which is do Yellow Page ads, right? She was spending $2,000 per month on Yellow Page ads, and her business was worth approximately $150,000 per year in annual revenue. It's got to be a better way. So she's doing what we've talked about over the last few minutes. She started a blog, she started a YouTube channel, she started a Twitter feed, and she wrote an ebook called Healthy Mouth, Healthy Sex. And this ebook, this free PDF document, no registration required, talked about how your oral health is related to your sex life. Whoa, that's pretty radical, right?
Yeah, well, it's catchy and
interesting. And then people wanted to talk about it, and they wanted to share it with their network. And then because she got so many people talking about her and linking to her, if you went to Google or the other search engines and you typed in Boston dentist, she appeared at the top. That grew her business really quickly up to, she had $1 million in revenue after just a few years after doing this strategy, from $150,000 in revenue. She was able to cancel her Yellow Page ads. She doesn't use Yellow Pages anymore. And then she said, you know what, this is pretty cool. I've built this business. She actually sold the practice, and she's no longer a dentist. She said, you know what, there's other stuff I can do if I know how to generate attention.
Yeah, awesome.
And that idea works for everyone, because I have a dentist comes to me. I'm a dentist. I can't do this. Well, sure you can. Check this out.
Yeah. So I want to break down some of what these new rules are.
Sure.
There's this term, newsjacking. What is that?
Newsjacking. Newsjacking is, I think, it's the coolest way to get your content in the market that exists today. It's a term that I popularized. It sounds bad, newsjacking, hijacking, carjacking, but it's really great. The idea is, follow a breaking news story. Find out something going on either in the global market or your regional market or in your industry, and then instantly, as that news is breaking, create a blog post or some other piece of content for the purpose of getting your ideas into the market at the same time that that news is becoming big, so that you become part of that news story.
It's like drafting.
Yeah, it's like drafting, but what makes it unique that you can do it now is that Google indexes in real time. And has not been true for early stages of Google. It's only been in the last year or so that Google indexes in real time. So if I create a blog post right now, it's indexed right now. Yeah. So here's an example from the B2B world. And people in B2B always say, I'm B2B, I can't do this stuff. So this company called Eloqua, they're in the marketing automation software business. The CEO of Eloqua, Joe Payne, looks on his mobile device and sees, oh shoot, my biggest competitor was just acquired by Oracle. A company called Market to Lead was acquired by Oracle. So he went to a search engine and found out there was only one story in the market about this because it had just broken. And that was the announcement from Oracle. And it was basically a terse kind of announcement. So he did a blog post instantly. It took 2 hours to research and write, talking about what Oracle's acquisition of his competitor means for the industry. And it wasn't in any way negative. It was just, this is great for the industry, because now look at how big this industry is, that even this giant software company, Oracle, wants to be a part of us. So what Joe then did was insert his idea into a breaking story. Now, when the reporters and analysts needed to write about this, Bloomberg Business Week and PC World and Information World and all these, and the analysts like Gartner and Forrester, everyone writing about it, they all quoted him from this blog post. They didn't need to interview him because they quote directly from the blog post. Sure. Then they sent a link to that blog post to everybody in their database that they knew was either an existing or potential customer of the company that was acquired, Market to Lead. This one blog post generated $1 million worth of new business. Wow. And so this idea of newsjacking is really cool. The most famous example of newsjacking happened during the Super Bowl when the lights went out. Right. And Oreo tweeted a picture that said, "You can still dunk in the dark." Yeah. Now what made that great was it was done in 4 minutes after the power went out. Because the people from Oreo and some of their advertising specialists were in a room watching the Super Bowl, prepared for something to happen. The lights went out, perfect opportunity. We'll do this instant image, push it out. It was retweeted something like 14,000 times, and then the media picked up and talked about it. That's awesome. So that's the idea. This is basic, traditional, get your content into the market, but with the twist that you do it instantly to draft off of what the whole world is talking about.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Yeah. And there's a lot of applications. I mean,
tons.
You just talked about, basically getting attention, establish yourself as an expert, get quoted, requoted, and then that translates into business. But anyone can do this, right?
Oh, yeah. Anyone can do this. And I've talked about this technique in a number of, I've written a couple of books. I've written one book called Newsjacking, and then in the New Rules of Marketing and PR 4th edition, there's a chapter on newsjacking. And I talk about it in most of my speeches. And every single day, someone will email me or tweet me and say, check out this newsjacking I did.
Yeah.
And you know what? This stuff takes no time. You know, it takes an hour to write a blog post. It takes 15 minutes to do a real down and dirty YouTube video. It takes 2 minutes to write a tweet. And bang, you're in the thick of it. And anybody can do it. I mean, you know, I can do it, you can do it, anyone who's watching this can do it.
And it's another thing, if you're trying to do some sort of ROI calculation on social media really levels the playing field, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, PR firms can do this for their clients, but the beauty is, if I can't afford the retainer to get a PR firm working for me 24/7, if I just carve out a little bit of time, few minutes to write up a blog post, I can do this.
Absolutely. And the thing that makes it so different, this idea of newsjacking, is that so many agencies and traditional PR and marketing people are focused on a campaign-style approach to generating attention.
Yeah.
Right? They create attention on their time, right? Oh, I'm ready to do my press release next week, so that's when I want to talk about my stuff. Mm-hmm. Or I'm ready to do my pitching next week, or my advertising campaign, or my email newsletter. This is different because it becomes real time.
Yeah.
It switches the dynamic from what's important to you, which is getting my product information out there, to what's important to the market, which is there's this breaking news story.
Such a good point.
And you do need to have a legitimate tie to the market, though, to the story that's happening. I'll give you an example. During the devastating Hurricane Sandy that raced up the U.S. East Coast, I live in Boston, so that affected me and my family and my friends and neighbors. When that happened, American Apparel newsjacked by having a 20% off sale to anybody who was located in a state affected by Hurricane Sandy, which is terrible.
Yeah.
Because it's taking advantage of a bad situation. 50 people lost their lives. There was billions of dollars worth of property damage, and they're trying to give a 20% off sale.
Yeah.
That's a bad idea.
Yeah.
However, Duracell, battery manufacturer, quietly set up free recharging stations in the affected areas. And they were like mobile trucks. And you could bring your mobile device, your iPhone, whatever you've got, and plug it in and get recharged for free. They're a battery company. Perfect tie. And the way they promoted it was they had, on their Facebook page, they talked about where the trucks were going to be located. You know, on Thursday from 2 to 4 o'clock, we're going to be in Hoboken, or whatever it is. And they got tons of great media attention because it was the right thing at the right time. And by the way, they do have a tie to power because they're a battery company.
It's a perfect example.
Perfect example. So you need to be careful during those negative stories, but if you do have a legitimate tie, then there is an opportunity for you, and even in a negative story.
Let's drill down a little bit deeper on that too. Let's talk about hashtags for a second.
Yeah.
Because maybe some of the pushback on this idea is, well, David, I don't know where to find, I don't have my Google alerts set properly to capitalize on this. So maybe talk about hashtags, how someone might search for something that's relevant for them, and other techniques.
So the thing about hashtags is that they're great for following something that you know is going on. So if there's a particular conference happening, you can follow the hashtags, and then you can draft off of what people are saying in the conference, which is great. Yeah. But some of the best newsjacking opportunities actually come from things that you don't know are going to happen yet. And that's actually a better way to newsjack in a sense, because you have to be open to serendipity. The way that I personally like to do this is I look at Google News with no personalization on. I look at just the basic Google News and find out what's going on in the world, what's going on in the US, what's going on in my local area in Massachusetts. I read a daily newspaper every day. When I'm on the road, I read the local newspaper, or a newspaper from the country I'm in at the time in English. And when I'm at home, I read the Boston Globe. I read some magazines. And I'm always looking for something that's a little bit different. I'll give you a great example. So I learned that the 2020 Summer Olympic Games the host city is going to be named in September. So come September and up leading to September, the media is really talking a lot about who's going to be the host city. There's 3 candidates: Madrid, Istanbul, and Tokyo. And so I looked at all 3 websites, and Istanbul and Madrid are pretty good. Tokyo was horrendous. It's one of the worst websites I've ever seen in my whole life. In fact, I did a blog post, the world's worst website, posted about the Tokyo 2020 Olympic bid website. It's bad because it doesn't have any real images. They use stock photos. They have images of cartoons. And they have this vision statement about innovative Tokyo, and it means nothing.
Yeah.
And I went through all the reasons why this was a bad website. And then I pushed it out on my blog, pushed it out on Twitter, pushed it out on my social networks. And it went viral in Japan. I actually newsjacked the idea of this Olympic bid, and I had over 1 million views of my blog post. It was picked up by Nikkei. It was picked up by Sankei Business, magazines, newspapers, picking up my little blog post because I figured out a way to write something about a news story and have a different angle on it.
Yeah, awesome example. Let's break down, maybe if you can distill some of these little words of wisdom about what the rules are. So identify maybe what we're doing wrong today and how we can fix that.
Sure. So we talked earlier about the idea that we're really talking about creating content on the web. Whether it's a new technique like newsjacking or something that's been around for a long time, like creating a blog post or doing a video. It's about creating content.
So can you comment, just for fun, because I know how you'll answer, if my PR company is still sending out traditional press releases?
You know, fine. I mean, you can do traditional stuff. It's not that it's never going to work, but you know, why not get out there and reach people directly? Get it out and be there in front of people as they're looking, rather than just try to go through the media. I am not an advocate for either or, though. I'm not telling people never advertise, never use agencies, never do traditional public relations or media relations. You know, sometimes that can work great. So
well, especially when
I'm not advocating that it's either or.
But you know, and in the defense of some of these PR firms and whatnot, I'd say 99 to 100% of it is relationship based anyway.
Yeah, that's true. And you know what? I've used agencies myself. And when I have a book to promote, I will sometimes hire people to help me promote it. So I do that stuff myself even. But the biggest mistake I see with content creation, creating blogs and YouTube videos and whatnot, is companies, for whatever reason, believe they have to create it about themselves, about their own products, about their own services. And that just doesn't work in today's world because nobody cares about products and services. I mean, unless you're maybe Apple or something and people are eager for the iPhone 6 or whatever's next. Yeah. But anybody else, it's the wrong approach. So what is the right approach is don't talk about your own stuff. Don't talk about your products and services. Don't talk about you. Instead, understand deeply what I call buyer personas, the people that you're trying to reach. Understand them incredibly well so that you know the people you're trying to reach so well. In fact, you interview them, you create a profile talking about them, that you can create content especially for them. You, in a sense, become a storyteller for your brand.
This is brilliant, and I want you to, I don't want this to be too subtle. I want to even break this down more, what it means, because, and I used to be one of them, doing these campaigns. Oh, well, our market's 18 to 34, David. 18 to 34, that's our buyer persona.
Right.
Male.
Right.
That's good enough?
18 to 35-year-old males who are action sport oriented.
How's that? How's that going to work?
So
tell us how to do it.
You need to be much more detailed. What I do, I always recommend that people figure out who's buying their products or who's potential to buy their products, because there's two different things, and then interview representatives of that persona. I'll give you an example, the hotel business. Hotel websites are focused on products, right? They have pictures of the rooms, they have pictures of the restaurant, they're all the same. But if you think about hotel buyer personas, perhaps, I'm not in the hotel business, but perhaps there's 5. There's an independent business traveler who decides they're going to travel to, say, Los Angeles, need a hotel, make up their their decision based on their criteria. There's a company based in the Los Angeles area who has hundreds of people come through in a year to visit their headquarters, needs to get hundreds of room nights a year, a very different buyer persona. Or how about somebody like you who plans events, right? For Linked OC, you're booking events, and a very, very different buyer persona of a hotel is someone who needs an event space for sure. 250 or 500 or 1,000 people. Very different than these other buyer personas. Or a couple planning on getting married and they want a place for their reception, or a family who's traveling for vacation. Now, when you think about how do I reach each of those, which are very different, it means you need to interview representatives of those buyers, find out what's important to them, what are the words and phrases they use, what are the things they're actually buying. You know, in the case of the hotel that wants to have an event, it might be great parking.
True.
Because in Orange County, everyone drives, right? You need a great parking, you need to fit 500 cars, right? Okay, now we know that the way we market our event space is based on parking. But that little insight, that little nugget is impossible to get unless you do those interviews.
So how do you find them?
The best thing is to interview people who are not yet your customers, because you find out what really, really drives their interest.
So how do you get to them?
Find out people who have made inquiries but didn't actually buy anything. Ask the salespeople to introduce you to some of those people. Find out if there's a place that, say, event planners go in the Orange County area that you could go and meet them and have a conversation. Don't try to sell them anything, but just, you meet 10 or 12 of them and have a discussion.
Could you use Twitter or Facebook?
Could use Twitter or Facebook, absolutely, you could do that. Don't do surveys. This isn't about traditional surveys. This is about actually having interviews where you can learn those nuggets.
Yeah.
And then once you have those nuggets, your idea is to create the content that will drive that. So you could do 10 blog posts about parking in Orange County to drive then when somebody's searching on event space in Orange County with a lot of parking, you come up number one in the search results.
So let me ask another question. If I'm going to do 10 blog posts, that's fine, but if I've got campaign budget, should I be doing 10 different campaigns?
Well, I'm not a big believer in the idea of a campaign because that implies that it's fixed time frame. I like the idea more of media. You're creating a piece of content that lives forever. People can see it forever. So I would rather think of it as, okay, we have 5 buyer personas, and we have 3 nuggets from each buyer persona that we want to create content around. We've got 15 different nuggets. You create what I call an editorial calendar that allows you over the course of, say, a year to slot in that you're going to create individualized content throughout the year. And by the way, I think the right people to create these content, and this is surprising for some people, are not marketers, they're not copywriters, they're not advertising people, they're journalists. They're people who have a background in journalism. They're actually graduates of journalism school. They perhaps wrote for a newspaper or a magazine, or perhaps they've done video for a television station. And those are the people, because they know how to tell stories. They know how to create information that's interesting. They know how to create something that's not just a product pitch.
So instead of doing an ad buy in a magazine or on TV, you might be able to go out and hire or find these journalists and either get them to write for you for free or hire them.
Well, you hire them, and you know what? They're not very expensive because there's a surplus of journalists because the number of media properties are declining.
Well, and I can see that very effective if you find, let's say, another buyer persona might be the hotel guest that loves to bring their pet.
Yeah, perfect idea, perfect example.
So if you find someone who blogs about pets who's well followed,
absolutely,
that person could be your great advocate or evangelist for your quote-unquote campaign.
Yeah, and they could blog on their own real estate, but better yet, grab the content, put it up onto your real estate, create your own blog, have your own section on the website talking about your pet-friendly policy, and then have these stories of the different pets that have come through your hotel.
All right, we've been spending a little time with marketing strategist and author David Meerman Scott. David, thanks so much for being part of the show.
Hey, my pleasure, Bryan. It's always great to speak with you.
Behind the Brand features the people who are making things happen. Get the insight to grow your biz from experts who've done it. Get behind the Brand.
I go down, I'm like, oh my God. And I say, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. Forgive me. Come here. Come here, and you lean in.
I lean in.
Bang.
All right, that's the answer.
And I cover your body. And I call for help. And they were like, where's Keckner? I'm like, I don't know, I didn't see him.